Hey, good evening, good morning to the community, depending on where you are in the world. And so excited to be here for another Career to Coach Spotlight. And so excited to have Bala Mangia here with us today. He's growing his business significantly and just making some strides and based on where he's been in his life and now being able to help some other people overcome some of those challenges that they've had around their finances. And so I've had a chance to work closely with Bala during my challenge. And so I just really thought it would be valuable to have you guys be able to hear from him and hear some of the challenges that he faces in finances and how he's overcome them and how he's now helping other people do the same. So guys, welcome Bala. So Bala, welcome, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. It's always nice to share back with the community and give them any kind of tips and ways to avoid what we've had to overcome.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of the coaching world because most people probably don't realize that a lot of people go into coaching not necessarily from a traditional educational background, but a lot of times it's just based on them overcoming their own personal challenges in life. And then they decide, hey, why don't I help some other people do the same thing? And so you have a powerful story. So definitely want to hear that about that. And actually, we can start with that. I mean, can you share a little bit about like your background, your career background, and kind of how you even got into the coaching industry?
Yeah, no, it's everyone's story is always very unique to them, depending where life takes them and how that evolves over time and as they learn more about who they are and what they're find their purpose more in life. So I originally I was born in South America. I moved to the States when I was very young, and there was a lot of things early in my life that had a great impact on my beliefs, my views, my relationship with money and finances in my life. And not having a lot of it when I was young, but just having the basic necessities that, we as a family, as humans need to survive and live. And I grew up in Mississippi, so it was a very low income state. And over time, I kind of fought the idea of going to a 4-year college because I just didn't want to go to school again for just anything. I wanted to study something specific. So I was, from an age at that point, I was kind of fighting or resisting falling to that system that we all have fallen into. But my parents just wanted me to have a college degree and get a stable job and, go about my life. But once I figured that out, I went to school for and TV production, and I did that, and it was fun. It was a passion I've had since I was young, loving movies. And so I transferred to New Orleans. I've been living here for many years now. I went to university out here, and I got that degree. But I also had to kind of figure out, well, I have a degree now. What do I do with it? How does this work? And so it was kind of, essentially saying yes and figuring it out and understanding how all that works. But something that affected the coaching part of me was that for many years I was in retail business owner during the holiday season. So I kind of developed some business acumen through that. As one of my alums said, you went to the school of hard knocks. You did not go to a classroom to figure that out. You kind of went and did it with your friends and family and learned a lot about business. And so it gave me a lot of sense, even then during college years, of how to better manage my money, even though I didn't implement a lot of the tools I have now. And so when I went to college, I had a lot of friends asking me for basic advice because I was kind of the older brother. And so they would come to me for like real life advice, and I would kind of give them little tidbits and things like that here. And eventually it came to the point to where I had many people saying, like, you really seem to enjoy this, and you know a lot about it. You need to teach this somehow. But at the time, that concept just I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know to be a coach, to be an expert. None of that was, it was like at the time with money to me was very clueless. I had no idea I didn't know what I didn't know. And so over time, as I continued my one career, that hole in me never left. And so I would find myself in situations where people would ask for advice or I would like overhear conversation. I just dove right into it. And it came to the point to where I just, had the idea of writing a book for whatever reason. And I started following different groups online on Facebook. And I ran into different communities that were about the coaching world. And I was very new to it. So I didn't really understand how it worked. And I said, okay, cool, I'll be a coach. But that was like years ago, feels like a lifetime ago. So to where I am now, it's like I've learned to figure out so many things. But when you're running into that purpose-driven feeling of there's a pull, there's a pull, there's a pull, it's calling you for a reason. And it's hard to follow that sometimes because it's like we tend to be afraid of taking that leap of faith of becoming that new version of ourselves. So, a lot of people have just told me over the years, you have a gift and a skill because the you 10 years ago wish the you now would be there to coach them, to help them, to guide them. And there's so many people struggling in the world. So, yeah, over time, I basically said, okay, well, I needed to start taking a step and becoming a coach. And that also meant figuring out, like, how does this work? How do I create a course? How do I start letting the world know I exist? Who's the person I want to teach? Because at the time I was wanting to teach college students, but college students are, I know what it's like. We all do. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of time. So it's very, it's a smaller niche. It's a smart market to help. But then I started finding different coaches that helped me and guided me into saying, hey, that we have programs that help you develop different aspects of your coaching business. And I was also thinking, okay, well, when it comes to finances, people normally think, well, tax strategy, investing, budgeting, things like that. And I was like, yes, that's true, but I just felt like there was a missing link to that. And for me, that missing link was, well, first you got to start with the mind. And it's the phrase that most people, if you've never heard it, success is 80% psychology, 20% strategy.
Mhm.
And anytime I read articles, it talks about the strategy, but never the mindset of it. And so when I did a lot of Tony Robbins events and things like that, and I was starting to learn and rewire my own brain with it, I was in my own journey. So I've been essentially taking all my experience and turning that into curriculum. And it's led me to where I am now, which has been learning, not just how to be a coach versus just someone giving advice, but how to take what's in here and how to really be grateful for the experience I've had in my life and put it into a curriculum, even though the curriculum is never set in stone, you keep working on it. But I also, a year ago, ran into my first free client, and I was just starting, and me and him kind of connected through a seminar, and I helped him, and he said it made a good impact on him. But I learned through that too who I was targeting, my audience, who I needed to help and coach. But again, anytime I come across any books or anything, most of it is, a lot of it is strategy, but nothing is about mindset. Nothing is the psychology, our past, our behaviors, all these things. And so I have learned to take all these things and really put it more into, first you start with this, then you start with everything else. And I've hosted two master classes. I'm really grateful that I met people who have done it before, and so they've guided me, that my family has supported me on it twice. And I've had a lady come on one of them, and she talked for about 10 minutes, just giving great feedback of how much it's helped her. And, so visionary what we came up with, to put it together. But I've also learned that there's so much work involved in this. You have to learn to really be on social media. You have to create the content. You have to really narrow in on who your audience is. The trickiest part is knowing, how to price yourself, because you are giving people decades into days or months. And so you have to see the value that you're delivering to them. So there's a lot of different things you learn. It's not as, hey, I'm just going to go online and start talking about this and people are going to find me. So it's been a learning experience. But again, the great part about it is that when you start taking the actions, even when they're uncomfortable, you start realizing that you're helping people and you're starting to see what the world is, attracting to you. And so, doing the scary things is there for a reason. And I've definitely taken a lot of steps that have been very scary for me. But the more I've done it, I'm like, man, I can totally do this. I'm totally capable. And what I would do before I host a webinar, I tell myself, and I do this mantra that it's not about me, it's not about me, it's not about me. So I'm trying to make it as perfect as I can, but it's about delivering the message to the audience, to the people who need it, because people are struggling, people need help, people are looking for guidance. And there's so much information in our day and age where it's hard to find what is authentic. It's hard to find people who have actually been through it and know the tools and have the systems developed. So I know there's people who take advantage of that, and I'm trying, and we as coaches have to learn to filter through that, right? We have to bring our authentic self to it so people can relate to it as humans and say, hey, I'm not posting saying I make passive income and make 100 figures, a month or something. I'm not doing that, and I see a lot of that. So it's brought me to where I am now, and so it's funny because in college sometimes people are looking for that, they have that degree set in stone, but they realize as they take courses that they're not into the degree as much as I thought. So things change and you realize maybe college isn't for you. So, for me, when people say, oh, some people focus on the one thing, some people have multi-passionate, ventures. And I've kind of taken that approach where I like doing multiple things. I like having the variety in my life, but these are things that I'm very into. These are things that I wake up and go to sleep, just, researching, doing the homework, doing the work. And we're entrepreneurs. We're risk takers in a way, but we're also, our job as entrepreneurs is to put magic out there in the market and hope that the market perceives it and is open to it. We are dreamers to that extent, but we're also realistic to where we know that there's a lot that goes and is involved in this. So, for anyone who's even on the journey, the thing you have to keep the thing that drives you is the why you're doing it. Why is it really? It's not just about the money, even though the money is a freedom, it's a tool if we all use it, but why are you really doing this and who are you trying to help? Because in a sense, you always have to think, well, I'm trying to help the person that was me 10 years ago. And that's what I've had many coaches tell me. Where were you 5 years ago? Where were we 10 years ago? And did you have that person you are now? And the answer is no, but I wish I did. So I'm on this journey. It's been fun. It's been great. I've learned a lot of things. I've grown so much in the past few years as I've been on it. And, not everyone's going to understand it. I have many friends who are 9 to 5ers and they don't get it. They just want that security. They want that job that just pays them. And that's okay. Not everyone is on this journey with you. And the ones who are on it with you are going to understand. They're going to support you because, we every day have to get up and just wish and hope and faith and have confidence that at some point we're going to break through that glass ceiling, that roof we have over ourselves, and it's going to be worth it. And so far for me, I've seen kind of that it is, because the steps I've been taking for myself have proven, the universe has subtly showed me this is what you need to do. People are finding you. You are putting yourself out there more, and you have an impact, and that's at the end of the day, you want to serve. You're there to help make the world a better place, change someone's life, because you don't know that there's someone out there who's so at the end of their ropes looking for the solution you have. And for you have to be able to get out of your own way to help someone is such an impactful thing you can do for everyone. And even my parents were on my webinar just glorifying and saying how much they see what I'm doing. And that's not a usual thing for everybody, because a lot of times our families and friends don't understand this. We're like, what do you mean you're a coach? You're talking about money, mortgages? Like, what do you do? So it's been a journey, it's been a ride, but if that pull is there, it's there for a reason. And you have to be brave enough to pursue it, to go after it. Because think about it, if you don't do it, what is that life going to look for you? And if you look back and you see other people doing it, like, man, why did I not just take the chance in my life and become that person?
Absolutely. And yeah, man, so much value in that, Bala. So and I mean I have so many points of like, oh man, I want to go deeper on that one. But I mean, if you had to speak to, I know you mentioned that whole transition from the 9 to 5 into the coaching and entrepreneurship. Can you speak just a little bit about kind of like what are those major mindset shifts that you had to make, or like what are some of those early challenges you had when considering like going from that 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship and that you had to overcome?
Yeah. No, it's such a great point for anyone, because a lot of times I've heard a lot of very successful entrepreneurs say, when to take the entrepreneur route is a leap of faith, but don't quit your day job until you have revenue coming in. And that's when you have to balance kind of both worlds. That's why a lot of people say, look, I do my 9 to 5, but then I'm building my empire from 6 to 3 in the morning. So you really, I think you have to consciously be honest with yourself and really, really have that moment of meditation. I meditate all the time to really ask myself, like, am I ready for this? Is this what I need to do? And to take the leap of faith it's a huge belief in yourself, because ultimately you have to believe in yourself that this is what you have to do. And what you're also doing, though, is you're going from, hey, I'm asking someone for a job versus creating the job, and it's a whole different route. But I would say for anyone who's considering it, you know, do a pros and cons list. Ask yourself why you're choosing to do this. Is it because you're not fulfilled in the 9 to 5, or it's just not providing you more of what you're wanting in life? don't just be a coach or don't become an entrepreneur because you think, oh, well, I'm my own boss and I'm going to make a lot of money. And like, yeah, you are your own boss, but you have to manage other people. You have to lead the way. You have to figure things out that everyone's going to come to you for answers. So not everyone has that in their life. Not all people have that entrepreneur kind of like drive to them, or that sting, that curse, that whatever you want to call it, that entrepreneur bug. But if it's in your life and it's meant to be that way, it can provide those things, right? It definitely can provide a lot of that. But being a business owner is not as simple as, hey, all the money is coming to me. It's, you have to pay for many things. You have to learn a lot of things. You have to learn how to hire people, hire the right teams, learn how to do so many things. And so the resources are out there for you, but I think it's a big choice. And part of it too is, depending where you are in your life, if you're younger, you're able to take that leap because you don't have a lot of things, like you don't, if you're not married, you don't have mortgages, all that, you're able to take that leap because you're creating that foundation for yourself. As you get older, and that's the same kind of principle for investing. When you're younger, you can take more aggressive risks. As you get older and your life starts to change a little bit, you can't do that as much
Absolutely.
unless you have a partner who's like, hey, I want to do this with you. Let's go and have the adventure of a lifetime becoming business owners. So there's a lot they have to factor in, also just depending where you are in life, and if you want to work a little bit as an N5er and build that cushion until you're ready, that's fine too. Your time is your own. It's not someone else's. There's no one else that's going to tell you yes or no. And sometimes I think we looked at for like external validation, but you ultimately have to listen to yourself and know that, hey, I'm ready for this, or I want to plan, I want to start working towards this as a goal for the next year, and you start researching, asking people, ask other entrepreneurs, hey, like, what was it for you? When did you decide this is what you wanted to do? And how did you go about that? And everyone has a different story, but what you do with that is you just take the nuggets and bits away from that and see how that relates in your life and say, okay, because I have another company, it's a production company. It's kind of in between startup and stage one, sort of like, becoming more and growing it. And even there, I have three other people I work with, and sometimes we have to just, there's times when we're just like, it's not going great, there's not a lot of revenue coming in, we're dealing with XYZ. Other times when there's opportunity, so we're up here. So you learn to deal with that, but in order for you to deal with that, you have to be internally, mentally, and emotionally just prepared that that's just going to be the way that journey is. And even when you make it successful, you got to work even harder sometimes to keep that and to keep up with what's going on in the world and the industries and what they're adapting to, because that is part of business. Business survives as you innovate. You have to do that. And everyone figured that out with COVID and quarantine, that in order for you to survive, the business had to change. The model could not stay the same all the time. So it's great when you have a team to do it. So don't think, I mean, a lot of us, sometimes we have to start on our own or find coaches that will help us and guide us through it. But you can't do it all on your own. You need people with other expertise. And so it is a giant leap of faith. But again, it just comes down into your internal belief, if it's going to be the thing that makes you happy to do it. Some people would rather work 100 hours for themselves versus 40 for someone else, because at the end of the day, it's your time. You're giving your time for someone else, and you have to see what, even though I'm a 9 to 5er and I'm making X amount every hour, but the output for me for someone else is even more. I'm making them more money than myself, and that's the thing. As an entrepreneur, you are bringing a new idea, new concept to the world to serve the world, but you're also saying, hey, this is what I'm worth to the market, and the market rewards you for that as well.
Mhm.
So it's an internal thing. You have to consciously just say yes to it. If you're not sure either, just say yes to it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the least you can do and say to yourself in the future is, at least I tried and I learned a lot, and I realized maybe I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur. I prefer the 9 to 5. And doesn't mean as a 9 to 5er you can't climb that ladder if you also learn how to do that accordingly, and you can be more valuable to your company. It's not just that you can do that in your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Always great points. And so, man, just, I mean, I know you mentioned even just, just to kind of mention a little bit on personal growth. And earlier you talked about like getting past the comfort zones and, doing the uncomfortable things. But like, what are some of the, like, if you had to kind of pick maybe your top 2 to 3 things that you would encourage somebody that's kind of on the border, they're thinking about doing it, they're not really sure, they're not really sure what the next steps would be, what are like maybe their top 2 to 3 things that you would recommend they start off doing?
I mean, I think so for me in my journey, I think what kind of pushed me to do it was that I had a lot of confirmation externally and people telling me, you're really good at it. And it's always great when you hear that because it validates it for you, but internally you have to validate within yourself. So if you're at that point and you're really kind of wondering, it's like, well, you have to kind of look at what are the things in your life, the skills that you have that come very naturally to you, because that's going to be a propeller of knowing, okay, well, hey, I'm really good at that. I enjoy doing that. And when you enjoy doing it, it doesn't, I mean, granted, there's work that comes with it, but that is enough for you to feel comfortable in your own shoes. That, hey, I can actually do this. I like it.
Mhm.
Aside from money, sometimes I have some people sometimes come to me, my own family, talk to me, hey, we're stuck in this kind of relationship or we're having this issue. And just to be even open with the community, I've never had relationships in my life. Yet I've done the work to understand them better. So that to me is like it's a natural skill. And I will talk about it for hours on end with people. And they're like, dude, you should also be a relationship coach. You know a lot about this stuff. So when you look internally, and I know a lot of people do this as like a tool. They're like, well, if you're not sure what you want to do, but you want to do something, just write down the things that you think you need help with on a daily basis. And if there's something in there that correlates with the skill you have, there you go. There's an idea for you. So that would be one thing. It's kind of look at the things that you're naturally good at, you enjoy doing, and you can apply that to help other people. Because, for example, if I didn't know how to cook, I would have to go to someone and say, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Because I'm not a good cook. And then I think the other part to it too is that I think it comes down to wanting to be that person that your younger self needed. And so there's so many else out there, and you have to be willing to say, hey, it's not about me too. It's about helping the world. So it's like instead of blaming and complaining about the problems in life, what can I bring of value to help the world? And that means for me, it's taking lead because everybody who's ever created something, just like this computer we're on using Zoom, all these guys took leaps of faith. They took chances, but they had the drive. The story of the Airbnb guys looked and they said, hey, we have a problem we got to solve. We got to pay rent. How do we do that? And they got creative with it and they came up with a basic thing. It wasn't perfect at the beginning. So you have to also give yourself permission to be imperfect, try different things out, and then eventually you get the end result. And that is essentially what you're also doing as you're taking the leap to become a coach is give yourself that permission and say it's okay if it doesn't work out, it's okay if it's not perfect, it's not going to be, but that is the journey that's going to teach you so much about you. And you're going to get confidence with this over time because the more you gain confidence by taking the actions, even if the actions aren't perfect, you're still doing the thing that no one else is doing, so you're automatically putting yourself in a very very unique circle. So a combination of the things for me have helped because I have met coaches who time and time have told me, yourself included, is you have a gift, you got skills, you got to put them out there, man. And like Dean Graziosi said, if you're doing a disservice if you're not getting a client to say yes to you, if you're not perfecting your pitch to make people want to say yes and come work with you. So if you want to help the world and people, you have to be willing to be the one to vocalize and to put yourself out there and to be seen and heard, which for a lot of people is not easy. We tend to want to hide behind the camera, not in front of the camera. But if you do that, you realize when people start reaching out, they're like, my God, I feel the same. I get it. People want to relate to that. That's authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so that's awesome. So kind of looking at what skill sets they already have and being able to kind of start to take some inventory of like what areas they might be able to help other people in. I think that even in itself is a big thing I like to tell people is especially if they're on that verge of like, do you even like working with people? Because if you don't like working with
Right.
people, if you're not wanting to help people make transformation, then coaching might not be the best fit for you. But yeah, but if you love helping people, you love helping people make those transformations, then it's a great industry. But yeah, but starting off with assessing those skills and then starting to take action, just like you said, starting to take action, and action cures fear, but it also helps make you better too. So, and with that, the more, and even me as a physical therapist, that's one thing I always tell my patients when they're having to relearn things are harder. And so, but the more you do it, it gets better, it gets easier. And so, the same thing applies to anything, any new skill, any new talent that we're learning. It's like, okay, I got to start off somewhere. The start isn't pretty. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. And ultimately you'll look back and like, man, I can't believe how far I've come. Right. I was kind of like that
Right.
even with me. I was, before I started, I always had a vision of being in business many, many years ago, even before I, started my career in physical therapy, but I was shy. I was quiet. I wasn't sure, like, I was just timid, right? But I knew in order for me to be this entrepreneur, I had to overcome some challenges and put myself in some situations where I was uncomfortable and things like that. And so I did. I started speaking at church. I started doing just different things that most people weren't willing to do, because most people are afraid of public speaking. But that helped me overcome those things and even become more confident in what I do now. So yeah, sometimes it's addressing, understanding what you're good at, but then being willing to, tackle those challenging, scary things that maybe are a little uncomfortable. But when you do that, each one gets better. So yeah, absolutely. So much value in that, Bala. And then, so tell us though, I know you said you mentioned you have a couple master classes you just did. So tell us how, like, if somebody wants to find out more about, tell us your name of your business and things like that, but how, if they want to get more information on improving their personal finances and in that area, like how would they find you? What are some of the things that you have coming up? And how can they find out more
Yeah,
about
no. So I've learned how to do that a little bit better. So it's funny. For a while when I was just on Instagram, a lot of times my account was private. I was very private about many things in my life. I didn't want the world to see it. I was, like anyone, you're skeptical about social media. So when I was getting coached a year ago, really great business coach of mine, I went to her event in Chicago this year, and she really encouraged me, said, look, like Bala's got a message, you got a voice, you have so much knowledge and so much value, you got to be public, man. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be public. So again, it was one of those things that I had to overcome and internally myself and say, like, dude, it's not about you. It's you're showing the world who you are. And so I basically went public with my Instagram, and I started just making some basic reels and getting used to that. I mean, I'm a millennial, I guess, but I'm not the most tech savvy person either. I had to learn a lot of these things. So, but yeah, so basically, once I did that, I felt more confident to just get on camera more. I kept practicing. I kept doing that. She challenged me every week to just get on camera. And I got accustomed to it. And it's not about, at the end of the day, who's going to like it and look at your, even though you have views, it doesn't matter whether someone likes it or comments on it. It's the fact you're putting the message out there and people are aware of that. But yeah, with my classes too, I also put myself out there here locally in New Orleans because I was on a Facebook group and somebody had posted about doing a financial literacy workshop here. And I was like, whoa, okay. Again, I was like, this is the universe giving me an opportunity. And I took it and I said, look, I'm a finance coach too. I want to bring something to the table. And so I went and did it. And, it was very unique my first time, but like I was really into it. It wasn't a big crowd, but I said, hey, everyone starts somewhere. You went and did it. That's the important thing. And then I had another lady from South Africa in a Tony Robbins UPW group. She posted in our group chat that, hey, she was hosting a webinar and she was looking for people with these particular topics. And I said, hey, I'm a financial abundance coach. And we started talking, and I ended up, doing a 1 hour Zoom as well with her. And she loved it. She shared that with her community. I brought everything I could to the table, prepared for that too. And so I basically learned that, I've learned to put myself out there. And once you start doing that too, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, but when you go for a walk or a drive, you start getting calls, ideas start coming to you. So like when movement starts happening, things are attracted to you because you're doing the thing. You're not just sitting there wishing and praying and hoping. You're actually taking actions to make that happen. So it was great to connect with her, and she has her coaching as well. And then I invited her to come to my second master class because I said, hey, look, I'm hosting this thing again, and please come and join, share it with your people. So with the master class, I know there's different ways to do it, and I've been on many different kind of master classes, so there's so many approaches. I did it even if it was going to be janky. I just kind of figured it out. I had a coach working with me who still works with me, I think, now. And I had to learn how to do this. I was like, hold on, I'm gonna be talking for 4 hours. What am I gonna talk about for 4 hours? So there was a system I kind of bought into that really helped me put the pieces together. And when I did it, I was nervous at first, granted, anyone is, but like, I primed myself, I got ready, I just kind of turned into Tony Robbins for a little bit and just kind of went into that mode. And at the end of it, I was in such a high mode. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I just did it. It's done. It's, whatever. I was so pumped. I was so proud of myself. And, it was just amazing because at one point with my other coaches, I talked about that. I said, they're like, you need to consider doing a master class to get people there. But I was like, well, how do people find out about it? And I'm like, well, you got to post. So all these things are collectively coming together that I'm learning how to do, learning how to use Canva as a market, as a flyer, and do the create the Zoom and the Calendly and all these different components. There's so many different components you learn about it, but that's the fun part. And I was very fortunate that I was on a call with Carissa Cucci, just so anyone knows, she works in the Tony Robbins world. And I asked her, I said, what advice can you give to somebody who's starting to become a coach and trying to, transition to that? And she said, and you just got to get lost in the magic. You just got to get lost in the magic. You just, you're there to help people. And she's like, I commend anybody who's going through that journey because you're also in the world of sales. In sales, I've been in sales before, not like on online, I had to learn that. But man, it's brutal. You have to learn how to deal with rejection. You have to learn how to navigate other people's psychology and where they're at and all these different things. But you said, at the end of the day, you're selling as a service is what you're doing. But to hear that from her was so encouraging. So I always remember that, and I use that as my tool. Like, just get lost in this, just enjoy it, because one day you're gonna look back at this journey and be like, wow, look at what I did to get here. So with the master classes, I had a couple people attend, mostly my family, but my family is now seeing what I do, which is kind of funny and great at the same time. And then I hosted my second one before I took a trip to Germany for myself. And the thing when you're doing these events, you got to put the date on there, right? You give yourself the deadline because that puts your brain into, okay, what do I got to do the steps to work backwards and get everything done? And you learn how much is involved, but you realize what you can do. You figure it out. You get more proud of yourself. And when the moment comes, all the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, it disappears because you become that version of you that's there to serve. And this latest one I did, I had this lady gave me like a 10-minute testimonial. And I was like, oh my God, wow. Like she found my event, she came on there, she did it. And I was like, oh my God. And the beauty of it is what I've learned is it again, you have to give yourself permission for it to be imperfect. You look at what you did wrong, but everyone else is like, dude, that was amazing. My uncle got on there for like 5 minutes. He said, dude, you're like a Tony Robbins Jr. Like everyone was so impressed by it. And I was like, I appreciate it so much. So, but you have to keep that momentum going. You have to realize it's not about you, it's about other people. And will have people start noticing and supporting you. So what I've kind of I don't like have a company website or anything like that, but I told myself, look, what do I want to name this? And even though I name it, quantum leaping your money mindset, for me, what I saw in myself over the last many years was I reinvented the whole relationship I have with money in my life and how I use it. So I call it financial reinvention because it's about your whole life. I'm not thinking, hey, it's about your future. It's about now, but you're reinventing all of this for you. So for me, it was about reinventing myself. So it's financial reinvention. I'm on Instagram as Bala_PKS. So if you want to follow me, please do. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have anybody who's interested to come and join us. And I like to do these events too, because I want to bring fun to it. I don't want it to be, where you're in a classroom setting and someone's teaching you taxes and, the things that to me would be like, I'm falling asleep. I want to bring a fun engagement and atmosphere to people and make you realize like, dude, not all is lost in the world. I know that we're suffering through inflation and recession. The economy is crazy, but you know what? It all starts with you internally and how you view the world around you, because you can look at the lack of abundance in your life, or you can look at the great stuff that's around you, and that makes all the difference. So it's a psychological thing. And I've had to rewire my brain so much to look at that. And I'm surrounded a lot of times by people who just, it's tough, the bills are tight, it's then I get it. But like, it's like, do you also realize how you're talking to yourself right now? The way you're speaking is what you're attracting. And I use this story just to give you a quick little glimpse of my math class. I use this story where, as a child, if anyone has ever played the Monopoly game, the Monopoly board game St. Charles Avenue was like one of the more bougie, little parts in the game, and everybody fought for it. I literally live 2 blocks from St. Charles Avenue. I live in Uptown. This is my life now. I went from Mississippi, low income, very basic state, to now living where I live. And I've had friends come into my prom and like, oh my God, like this thing is like a castle, dude. But I've had to do so much of the work to get myself here, to have this kind of life for myself. So what I'm saying is, and what I've learned from other coaches, if they can do it, why can't I do it? If I can do it, why can't you do it? But it
Absolutely.
all starts with your mindset, with rewiring your relationship, looking at your old beliefs, your story, the way your family was raised, all these things, and you have to change that for yourself. So I invite you to please follow me. If I can offer any service up to you guys, I would love to, because I know I have a lot to offer, and I know there's people out there who need it. And that to me is what it's about at the end. I want to be the guy that can even shift your life, even a fraction of a bit, to put you on a better path, because everyone deserves that. We're all worthy of it. We all deserve to have the life we want. And at the end of the day, regardless of what's going on in the political, stage, there's no one in that office. No one in that office is going to give you the life you want. They may create policies and procedures and this and that. No one is going to give you the life you want. You have to go after it. You have to go get it. You have to go take it and chase it. And you have to stop blaming the world for what you don't have, because it's not, the world is going to kick you in the butt over and over and over again. That's just the nature of life. But if you can rewire to where when you have those moments coming in, you see that as a gift, it's a blessing. All these things are challenges, are blessings for me, because it's proof in the universe's way of saying, if you can overcome this, you're on the right path. You're chasing the thing you're meant to chase, right? So it's been a great journey. I have to start preparing at some point for my third master class, which I'm going to be hosting this month. So it's a lot of learning. It's a lot of things, that we give you to start even implementing things now. And that's one of the things the lady said, she's implementing so much of it now. And it's not even this, the implementation of a system, but when you're around those kind of people, the proximity changes for you, because you start surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals and people who are in a growth mode and want more in life. It accelerates that process for you much more. And it's not to say other people don't matter, but you start to realize that, you have to model those who have what you want,
Mhm.
and your life is going to be much more different, better because of that. Because I also am philanthropic. I have 6 organizations I donate to. So for
Yeah.
me, the idea of wealth is not just, oh, I have money and, I have all these expensive things. And no, it's like, I live basically with what I want. My money works for me in the sense of like, I go and enjoy my vacation time and experiences, but I also give back, because the reality of some of the richest people in the world is that, yes, they get tax benefits and so many things, but they get because they give. They get because they give. And a lot of times in society, we don't want to acknowledge that. We just want to see, well, they have wealth and I don't. So please join me, please follow me, and anything I can do to serve you guys, I'd be more than happy to. And I hope I can just bring some kind of value to your life, because we are all deserving of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And guys, just like Bala said, I mean, man, so okay, one of my favorite Chinese proverbs is the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the next best time is now. So, if and I'm guilty, right? I was a shopaholic. I still have a little twinge of that, but a little bit better, right? But still got a lot of work to do with that in that area as well. But so if you're not where you want to be financially, or really any aspect of your life, you have the power to change that. And so Bala's just extended the opportunity to come and work with him and get some information more about how you can improve your finances. And so we will make sure that underneath in the comments we'll have the link for Bala, so you can just click on that if you're listening up to this far. So you'll be there for you to check them out. And so yes, I appreciate you, Bala. I just have one more question though, because I know you had a chance to join me in my reinvent you as how to reinvent yourself as a coach challenge. And so what was your take? Like, what was your experience with that? Like, what would you recommend for a new person potentially wanting to transition for coaching, or if that might be something that was beneficial for them as well?
Yeah, no, it was a great time. I know it's crazy because when you're doing the thing you love, time ticks so quickly. And so an hour, it's just never enough. Yeah, it's never really enough. But it was a great time because again, what I've learned in my journey is like I've come to really tell myself, hey, I don't understand this or know how to do this. I gotta go find somebody. And then I find them and it makes all the difference. And our time spent together was it was not just the work that we did, it was just getting to know each other and being able to support each other and invite each other to have conversations and be impactful to our communities. But at the end of the day, it's like, what I mean, again, what do you have to lose by not doing something? Because it's going to cost you, right? And so I'm not just saying, hey, if it worked for me, it's going to work for you. It may not, but you have to give yourself permission to give it a try, because the worst thing that can happen is that it's just your time that you gave to somebody and the value maybe wasn't there, but you won't know unless you try it. And sometimes it may work out even way better than you thought, way better than you thought. But I know I needed it. I needed that little help. I needed that guidance. And sometimes it's just good to have that refresher, because the one thing that Monica helped me with so much is that I have so many ideas sometimes in my head, but I can't write them down quick enough. And I know we had this moment and you were like, I'm writing everything down. You have so much content value. And it's like, you see, this is what I needed. I needed someone to just tell me that and write it down and share with me, because sometimes we just, we may get in our own heads or don't realize that we have more than we think we do. And I've had many coaches tell me that, and people are like, dude, you have so much value, you just got to get it out there. You got to write it down somehow. And I'm like, I struggle with that sometimes. And like, because we take it for granted. We really do. We take something so much for granted that we don't realize is what we can do to change someone's life. So working with you in that sense helps so much, because I started writing things down and I started posting more and getting used to that. And again, no one has to follow someone else's work to the T. You have to learn to make it your own. And when I was in my master classes, it's one of the things I realized. Like, I was kind of trying to follow someone else's way of doing it, but my dude, you have to direct the flow that works for you. It's not someone else's way is not going to work exactly, but it is like it's the framework of it. It's you see the skeleton, but you got to put the meat on there yourself. So it was so impactful. It helped me a lot, and it gave me some momentum that really helped me in many ways. So, again, you never know what you're getting, because even with my masterclass, it was funny that I think at the end of it, people are like, you see, this wasn't like the lady's like, this isn't just about money. This was so much more. We weren't just talking about money the whole time. There was so much more value, because at the end of the day, even though what Monica offers is so valuable in so many ways, but she's also bringing so many years and experience of coaching that she's gone through and things in her life. So she's bringing so much more element and substance to that you're not just getting one thing, you're getting many, and you have the freedom to ask these questions. Or, hey, if you run into something like we went through, or like, hey, that's an area that, like the evaluation circle, like, where are you here, where are you here, where are you here? And I noticed there was a change, but I also noticed there were areas where, hey, I need a little more help here. Maybe I got to go to someone else for that. Maybe we can work on this in the future together. So you never know if you never try, and you're going to get so much more out of it than you could possibly imagine. So it's like, again, the only thing you're losing is time. But if the value is there for you, that time, that investment you made in yourself, I don't look at the cost of something, I look at what I'm getting in return for my time. It's going to exponentially propel you even further. It's going to help you so much more, because at the end of the day, it's just like when you're reading a book, you're not taking the information just for you. You're taking that information because you're helping someone else with it. You're one step ahead and you're guiding someone else. So the amount of books anybody in this community reads, I'm a bookaholic. I'm going to share that with someone else too. So, and I know we tend to get into that mode of like, I need to read it quick, quick, quick. I'm like, no, take your time, absorb it, really become a student of it. And once you do that, you're going to share with the world, and the world's going to be even much of a better place for that. So if you got the opportunity, go book a call with Monica right now, because her insights and her experience and who she is as a person, it's so genuine, it's so loving, it's caring, and she will challenge you, because that's what a great coach does. She's going to give you the nuggets you need, but she's going to push you out of your comfort zone, because that is where you grow. You guys are right here, and there's a circle. Your next goal is here. You got to push it a little bit. And the more you do that, you grow as a person, and you're stepping more into the version of you in the future the universe is saying, hey, you need to come. So I'll leave you with this too. So if anyone's ever watched a Oscar speech by Matthew McConaughey, he I think he asked himself the questions like, who's my hero? And he said, my hero is me 5, 10 years from now. So he's always chasing his hero, but he's never going to meet him. But that doesn't mean that he's not climbing as a person. He's not elevating himself. So each one of us is constantly chasing our hero, even though we may never meet that person, but we're constantly elevating our standards, our experiences, our character, who we are. And other people will become attracted to that. They'll see that. They want to be part of it. They want to say, man, what kind of sauce is he on? I want to go have some of that. So please do yourselves a favor and get out of your own way and go become the person you're meant to be by just saying yes to you. Say yes to you.
Love that, Bala. So appreciate you and just love that last comment, guys. So from the mouth of Bala, go be you, right? And so that's part of that is stretching yourself to be that next best version of yourself. And so again, I welcome you to reach out to Bala, figure out what that next best version of your finances looks like. And if you're interested in pursuing coaching, then I would love to have the opportunity to speak with you and show kind of walk you through like your next steps and what that looks like. So Bala, I appreciate you. This has been so phenomenal. So I know people that are watching this are getting so much value just from your wisdom. And so, yeah, so looking forward to just hearing more comments and hearing more about you in the future, and even bring you back later just to kind of see where you are, as your business continues to grow. So thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to continuing to grow together, right?
Yeah, definitely. I always tell people, where I've used this concept now for myself. A year ago, I had for any Swifties on here, I bought a Taylor Swift ticket a year ago on my birthday. And I thought, okay, at the time I was like, man, it's July 2024. It's a while down the road. A year happened like that because I was looking forward to it. So always consider that time can work for you or against you. And so the quicker you do something, the quicker you're getting to where you want to be. And so I know right now I do a lot of online webinars and master classes, but even there I said, this could change where I am a year from now on a stage somewhere in front of thousands of people. You never know, but you never know who's watching, who's listening. And for anyone who's taking that coaching leap, the same opportunity is there for you guys. Don't think this is one thing I want to leave you guys with. So as a finance coach, what I do a lot of times is I would doubt myself because I'm thinking there's so many people doing this. If you've ever watched this guy, Ramit Sethi, I think if he's the author of, I will teach you to be rich. He had on his blog this phrase, and I was like, wow. He said, just because I'm doing this doesn't mean you can't. Just because I'm doing this doesn't mean you can't. Because there's so many people that need to be served. There's so many people that need to be helped. So your story is unique to you.
Absolutely.
Go do it.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. I did. I had to realize that, oh my God. And that was a limiting belief for me. I was like, what more can I add versus somebody like him who's been doing this for years? Because your story is unique, your experience is unique, and the world needs to hear it. So don't hold yourself back and just go and take the leap and become a coach. Go do it. It's there for a reason.
Yeah. Well, you've heard it, guys. Go take that leap and become a coach because you can do it. So, Bala, again, thank you. Thank you. And so, guys, again, you can find Bala's information in the comment section. It's also going to be posted up on YouTube. So you can actually go back and watch it on YouTube as well and share it. Share it, share it, share it. If you found some value in it and you think it can benefit somebody else, then feel free to share it. We love to just kind of spread the word and helping others across the globe. So, thanks, Bala. And guys, until next time, for our coach to career spot. I'm saying it all backwards, right? Career to coach spotlight. Good Lord, tongue tied. Until next time, we keep moving forward. Think like there is no box. And so see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys.